Supreme Rice. Since the 1930s, supporting Louisiana farmers and communities throughout Louisiana. To find out more, go to supremerice.com.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana, welcome to the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott, Max Gautreaux, Jordan Kinch back in the studio. Glad that you're with us today. It's the first day LSU football practice. Team out on the field about an hour ago, and we'll have some thoughts from Lane Kiffin following that practice. Scott Rabelais will be there for us, so we'll move Scott a little bit back in the rotation in the next hour, and he'll have a post-Kiffin press conference, which is coming up at about 11:40. And then when Scott gets out of that, he'll be on with us. So we'll have it right off of the practice field today. Wes Reynolds with us today. Randy McKay with us today. Continues his NFL previews. We're on the Washington Commanders today. Jaden Daniels going into his third year. So we got a lot to get to. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
The football team going out there today, the start of practice, the optimism, the vibe, everything. All of the talking season, the off season was a long summer. All of that over now, and now you get the team on the field. Just initial today. How do you feel? What do you think? First day of practice. First day of school. Not the first day of school at LSU. But
you cross your fingers that you don't have injuries. That's the obvious part. It's very difficult to tell a ton. If you do see some quarterbacks struggling throwing the ball, that's a bad sign. I hate to be skeptical on that, but they have non-contact jerseys. It's completely different, and if you're struggling with that, you don't. I do remember, though, in the COVID season, which was Lane Kiffin's first season as a head coach in the SEC, he had a lot of new players, and I'll never forget that first game against Florida. It was an all-conference, and they lost. It was a shootout, something like 45-40 or something like that. Yeah. But their offense looked like it was no limitations in practice, no issues like he had been there for 7 years, and they were having explosive plays after explosive play against a pretty good Florida team. And that's kind of what I expect here. And they've got it's we believe the highest payroll in college football, and so he's got a very quarterback-friendly system, and I just that game sticks out in my head because I thought they would have a little rust. Man, they were mid-season form, like he'd been there for multiple years, and I'm sorry, I expect that at LSU. That's what I expect on the offensive end, and on the defensive end. I mean, they've got some players, man, and so. Cross your fingers like at the different level, but there have been some significant injuries in the NFL. The Falcons lost one of their defensive linebackers.
Three NFC South teams have lost a defensive starter in the first week of practice, including the Saints.
And that compounds it because they just lost a guy in that unit to the Saints in the offseason. So the Falcons, and Kevin Stefanski is used to some, it's just some hurdles, to say the least, in coaching, But, I mean, it does seem like a solid hire for them, and he's, one of his best players, got all kinds of issues off the field. But anyway, I bring that up because the NFL, because there are some guys going down, like you just talked about. So that's it. I mean, you can see what kind of shape they're in, kind of conditioning. So that's, how they look. And I've seen some teams that look really good for LSU that were outstanding. I've seen some teams that look really good that were underperformers, over the season. So that could be a tricky, but you do see some, I know after a 2003 season, there's some guys that came in a little chubby. Sorry. That was
the famous stick it in your depth chart press conference when Saban went in there furious about the type of shape that they came back in.
I mean, they
and that was before
won a
everybody's
national championship at 45 years, and this is part of your championship hangover.
Right.
You get fat and happy. So,
and that was before most of the team stayed on campus. At that time, most of the team.
And that's why it's less of a deal to put your eyeball on the conditioning and what kind of shape they look like. And you see guys that we've also already seen Trudez Green without pads. You wonder about how his body's developing. I chuckle when they label him a tight end. How many times, what percentage of snaps when he's on the field is he going to be attached to the line? I'd say very few. We'll see. Let's see. But I mean, he's a wide receiver. He's going to be detached more than he is going to be attached. But
you think he'll lead LSU in receiving?
He better.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, Kiffin knows what he has in him.
Yeah.
Kiffin knows he. I've heard him talk a little bit at SEC Media Days, and what do I always say? Guy with certain size that can do things that nobody else can do at his size. And he's that guy.
And it's a very crowded wide receiver room, so I expect those reps to be split. And that's been a Kiffin thing, too. 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 receivers play prominent roles. They'll divide up the catches. There's not like a 1 and a drop-off to 2. So if Trudez Green, the unicorn that he is as his tight end receiver, gets all the reps at that position, I expect him to lead them in catches and quite possibly yards, too.
One thing that makes Kiffin's his system so quarterback friendly is the creating opportunities for one, his balance, and also it's not just his balance, and that's why I'm hesitant to say, oh yeah, no doubt, because he's not just going to go to Trudez. I mean, that's just not him. Now on the key downs, I would think he's going to have a little tendency there, but run pass is balance. Who he targets is balance. What area of the field, the underneath, the intermediate, and the over-the-top routes that he stresses. And the other thing is, this is where Trudez, I'm curious, how many times have we seen him run, and that receiver is blocking, and he's improved. He still has a ways to go, and we'll see the physicality of his game, because he was a basketball player in football, and I saw him a lot in high school. He didn't want no part of the physicality. He's gotten better. I'm not ready to. I'll be surprised if he's attached enough where he's going to be a true tight end. But how many times will you see those receivers block, and then they go in their block motion and they release over to the top, and he's got guys wide open. How many times have we seen that? In the teams as he coaches and the offenses he coaches. Don't you think you're going to do that with Trudez?
Absolutely.
I mean,
so you brought up this number a lot in the past, and it fits right in with this conversation we're having about keeping people healthy. What's the number of times? You said this when Kiffin was at Alabama, when he was at Florida Atlantic, when he's at Ole Miss. How many times quarterback run per game? About
10.
Yeah, 10. Sam Levitt last year in 7 games rushed 54 times if you take out the sacks. He had 73 carries, but 19 of them were sacks. 19 sacks in 7 games. Yikes! So you were 54 times in 7 games. So a little under that 10. The year before that, he ran for 443 yards on about 10 carries a game. So
the year before, what? How many?
In 24, 440.
No, attempts.
In 2024, he had
That's when
110 rushing attempts, and I got to take
13 games.
Yeah, and I got to take the sacks out
because they had one playoff game, right?
Yeah,
19 sacks.
19 sacks. So 91.
No, I include the.
You can include the sacks.
Okay. Yeah, I just.
Okay.
That's kind of included.
All right. Well, then 110 in 13 games. So
a little under 10.
Just under. Yeah. He's handled this workload before. This is the workload that Kiffin is
coming off the injury.
Comfortable with.
That's the question for Kiffin. Your quarterbacks have always rushed right at and it's funny. The Hugh Freeze, his quarterbacks at Ole Miss is kind of the same thing. So he's and a guy like Matt Corral. This guy's not a very big guy. Levitt's more of a, when he's healthy, is more of a physical runner than a guy like Matt Corral, but it's part of his deal, and I wonder if he's going to be hesitant to have as many design runs, with him. It's been a part of his offense, yes. Yeah.
I'm sure that when the media went in an hour ago, the first thing they all made a beeline towards was the quarterback to see what he looked like.
Hey, both of these guys, what they have in common that they went after, Sorsby and Levitt, they're athletic. They can run.
Yeah.
They both can run.
You have to, and that'll be one of the biggest questions. And with the other position, I would say that your health is of absolute.
Break.
Say again.
Break. We got to go to break.
We got to go to break. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Anna, we apologize for a disruption right there, but we're back over here getting ready for back to school, man. All the back to school products for the kids, the shoes, the shorts, shirts, whatever you need, man. They got it over here. Unbelievable selection of merchandise over here at Dick's House of Sport. Also, we're brought to you by our friends at Total Maintenance. At Total Maintenance, you want fewer AC breakdowns, lower energy bills, and year-round peace of mind. Join the Total Maintenance membership program. Just call 480-0007, 480-0007. Regular maintenance keeps your system running efficiently while catching problems before they become costly repairs. If repairs are needed, they are backed by our lifetime warranty. You need a replacement? Financing is available. Total Maintenance, your total lifesaver, 480-0007, 480-0007. So, and also tm-ac.com. So, Charlie, where were we last? We were talking about LSU football with the first day of practice. So,
yeah, we were in the middle of talking about injuries and where they could least afford to have them, and obviously quarterback is a huge concern. The other one would be at corner. I think they've got two very good. By the way, everything's fine.
We're all good at the ball here.
Yeah, the alarm went off. Is okay. The cornerback position, DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland, I think are fine. You think DJ Pickett could be poised for a big season, potentially an all-conference type season. Future high pick. Woodland, I think, has been a really, really good corner. They lost Aiden Anding in spring. It hurt their depth a little bit. And you may need Pavon Finney, a freshman, step into the two deeps, be one of the positions that we're watching at throughout the month of August. I think that there's some depth that could develop amongst the younger players, but after the first two, Jakeem Jackson is the only guy with a whole lot of experience. And so that would be the other position that I would really be concerned about having any kind of rash of injuries or even one to a guy like Pickett. That would be my next biggest area of concern.
How many legitimate position battles are there?
I think at left guard, you want to see Bo Bordelaw hold on to that spot that he took back in the spring from Devin Harper. I think the wide receiver battle for playing time is wide open. I think that probably right now you're going to see a three-headed monster at running back, but who gets the most reps there will be probably interesting. I think it's wide open on the defensive interior. I think Deuce Geralds will probably end up starting, but who ends up starting on the other side of him and how that plays out is probably the next one.
Not so much worried about defensive front. You're going to rotate guys there. You can't play the whole time. So, you'll have an idea what you want to do. But once we see them in real action against Clemson, we'll have a better idea who's.
You got three true freshmen that are all going to play.
Oh, I agree with that, too.
So I want to see what they look like.
So where are they playing Brown?
They're going to play him, I think, behind Jordan Ross at that defensive end to open up.
A little bit more edge, huh?
Yeah, and of course in passing situations.
Because that's his strength, his quickness.
Yes, and in the three-man fronts, he'll slide down probably into a five technique.
And your boy from Carr has got tree trunks for legs.
Richard
so,
Anderson.
He's ready to play. And
is an interior guy. He was listed at 360 pounds. Let's see when we get an updated roster.
Biggest thing when you look at him and watch him play a couple times, this past year is just his leverage. Sometimes he can get a little high, and but I watched him against American Heritage, and he was kind of kind of neutralized in that one. I watched him against Catholic, and he dominated.
Yeah.
So, he's, I saw two sides of him, and against quality competition.
Yeah.
So, but he is in the mix. He is. How many snaps he's getting in the game, I don't know, but he's a guy that's going to be part of your rotation instantly.
The linebackers are set. The safeties, you have good depth back there. And I think at least 3, if not 4, of the offensive line positions are set. So those are the positions where I wouldn't. And, of course, the tight ends. Those are the positions that I think are probably most entrenched as we open the camp. And, you brought in a kicker from Arkansas. That seems to be done. There may be a little bit of a battle at punter, although I think Chadwick will probably win that job. And
new coach, but damn, he's all a conference punter. He's back.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing.
It was a little – he was hot and cold last year. I thought that there were times where he punted really well and other times where – look, he was a big upgrade over 2 years ago. No question about that. There were times where you'd have liked to seen his directional punting be a little bit better, but he wasn't bad. So I think he's probably going to be he'll end up winning that job.
So many things, but LSU at our friends at Bally's in the Queen. LSU is plus 160 to make the playoff. That's I think that's worth a swing.
Jimmy, I'll ask you this. Since you're on that topic, while you were away, we weighed the odds are pretty similar with the Saints, who are plus 180 to make the playoffs.
No, I would take LSU over the Saints.
LSU.
Yeah.
See, I would take the Saints. I'm on the opposite side, but
well, what are they to win the division?
Plus 250.
I would take that ahead of just making the playoffs.
Fair, but I just meant point blank. If the odds are about the same, who's more likely to make the playoff? You think it's LSU? Yeah.
LSU.
I sided with the Saints.
Saints don't have the highest payroll in the league. LSU does.
The Saints only have to beat out 3 teams to make the playoffs. LSU's to win the division, and you're right. If you had to play
I think if they're making the playoffs, they're winning the division.
Yeah, they're not going to make they're not going to play the wild. They're not going to be a wild card.
They could, but I just don't.
It's unlikely.
I
get you. To beat out the Falcons, Bucks, and Panthers, how many SEC teams do you think will make the playoffs?
How many made it last year?
4. No, 5. I'm sorry.
4 or 5.
Yeah, that's kind of the chalk.
I think that they've taken a little bit of a hit. The SEC, and since the playoff has been around, it's like 2-9 against outside competition. You eliminate the games when you're playing each other.
Yeah.
Like LSU, Oklahoma. Alabama, Oklahoma. So they've taken a hit, and they deserve to. And then your winner of one of your all SEC matchups gets blown out. Now, Indiana, they did that to a couple of teams. They did it to Oregon as well. But Alabama was not even competitive.
No.
That score could have been worse than it was.
When you puff your chest out like the SEC has for as long as they did, the SEC chants and
I think it hurts their consideration a little bit.
Well, you got to be ready when it flips. Sure. The Big Ten put them 3 national championship trophies in front of their
3 different teams too.
3 different teams. They were very conscious about, hey, listen, we had to listen to the SEC's noise for years. Look where we are now.
I think I'm pretty fair with it, though. But the Big Ten deserves it. But some people in from the Big Ten area, they don't want to concede that. They just ignore the SEC's run, in those championship games. And so many of those games were not even competitive. How many in a row did they win? 9, 8 or 9, or 9 of 10, whatever it was. And how many games were actually competitive?
Yeah, the Clemson. It was 7 out of 9. After Florida State in Ohio, when Ohio State won it in 15, then they went on their run where they won.
When LSU, Auburn, Florida, Alabama,
Florida, you got to go all the way back to 6 and 8. So it depends on how far you want to go back.
Well, no, that was the run where they won so many in a row.
No, because Florida State won in 13. So it wasn't quite in a row.
They won the last year before the 14 playoff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So. However you want to slice it, the SEC was the dominant league for a long time, and right now, the Big Ten at the top is better.
Still at the top, but that's where the SEC was getting their most love from because that's the highest profile game. It's a championship game, and so that's where it is. Still, the SEC had a higher conference RPI. They were number one. The first time in a while, they didn't have the most players drafted in the first round. So, our drafted period, I believe. But the conference RPI is 1 year. That 1 year, remember when Georgia Tech blew out a Mississippi State in a BCS Bowl, and I forget, maybe it might have been Clemson, but they had a good run. I think Florida State won a bowl game as well against maybe Northern Illinois, whatever. But they actually had the highest conference RPI. But it's been most still but a lot of people just focus on them, on the.
If you think Georgia and Texas are both going to make the playoffs, and I do, that next group, there's 5 of them in the preseason predictions out of the SEC. Will one of those teams make it, 2 of those teams make it, or 3 of those teams make it?
Who were the last teams in last year? It was Miami, huh?
Miami, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're that's the group of LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, and who am I forgetting? A&M. Out of those 5, 1, 2, or 3.
Two or three.
And is there a surprise? Could Tennessee make it? Probably
now,
not.
You had a spot gobbled up last year by a multiple group of 5 team.
Right. And
that's not happening again.
That won't happen again.
No.
Even though James Madison got votes yesterday in the top 25, but no, that's not going to happen.
That's fine, but they're not.
Sunbelt Billy going home.
They're not competitive. The days there's such a disadvantage. There's such a disadvantage. The Boise State could play with anybody.
Yeah.
They proved it. They could play with anybody. They didn't have to play a brutal schedule, but, man, they played some heavyweights, and they won more than their fair share. That Boise State, just them alone, it's not close to what they are, and it's very difficult. Those teams just don't have the payroll.
Nobody wants to see a second group of 5 team, group of whatever. Most people want to see one.
The way those 2 games, Tulane and James Madison, those pitiful showings last year. No, I think the majority doesn't want to see any.
And there were none.
It's not basketball.
And there were none in the top 25 yesterday.
The 5th year or the 6th year senior or whatever who's got no chance of playing professional ball. Man, he could knock down threes at the college level. It's just not. It's a different. Get a line of scrimmage and just gobbling up the. Kind of poaching the weaker programs it's mostly at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
if you're good at the line, you are not getting away.
When those teams had an opportunity to grow guys from the ground up and keep them in their program for 3 or 4 years, maybe. But now, if you got a lineman that's any good, he's out of there.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
the whole Conference USA, Sun Belt, all conference teams, they're all in the transfer portal. We're here at Dick's House of Sport. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see the LSU display behind us. The LSU merchandise is all over this place, man. You can't take 10 steps without seeing some of it. Kids are headed back to school. The $5 student rock wall climbs on August the 12th and August the 26th continue for a discount this Saturday, August the 8th, and Saturday, August the 15th from 10 until 11. Evolve Studio has free Pilates classes inside the store. Everybody gets a $10 off of your $50 purchase coupon. Please bring your own map. And the Dick's House of Sport Tailgate Takeover is happening on September the 3rd. That's, of course, leading up to the opener. That's the Thursday before from 6 until 8. Lots of things to bring the kids out for, face painting, outdoor games, cornhole, pickleball, lots of other things. Pick up your LSU gear before you head out to Tiger Stadium here at Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Uh-oh, they let the big dog out.
Boom! Out of nowhere.
It's time for the big dog, Randy McKay, with his best picks.
Big dog, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. It sounds like you're doing good back from your vacation. Are they going to send you on another? We didn't get to bring this up when we previewed the Saints, but I see you guys played that neutral game in Paris. I suppose they got you heading over there for that. You're the big
My boy,
traveler.
I'm more of a French Riviera guy than Paris, inland, okay? So, Nice, Antibes, Monte Carlo, so Monaco, so, yeah, so I'll be skipping the Charlie's big on it. He thinks we're going to capture Paris with the fleur-de-lis in our French culture,
They're going to beat the Steelers, man. Knock Aaron Rodgers out.
We will be Charlie will not be, but me, Max, Chris Massaro, Paul Stone will be at Radio Row. So for the week 0. So I don't know if I know how you kind of hop in and out, but if you are, we can go hit that Japanese wok place where they do the brisket fried rice or whatever. What is it? 8 East? Is it 8 East?
Oh yeah, I can probably head up there for that. So
man, we'd love to see you. We'd love to see you spend some time. So for sure. So let's get to our team, Randy, and with the Washington Commanders today. Washington Commanders, their win total this year is 7.5. The Eagles are favorite in the NFC East. They're plus 115. Dallas is second, plus 235. The Commanders are plus 460. So we talk about the Commanders in the unbelievable rookie season for Jaden Daniels, and then a little bit of a sophomore injury / slump. And that's also, for a team that exceeded expectations such a big way, making it all the way to the conference. And winning 2 road playoff games along the way, and at Tampa, at Detroit, in impressive fashion. And then they just fumbled the ball, just turned the ball over too much against the Philadelphia Eagles in that game. And Saquon was just too he was brutally tough in that postseason stretch as well. The most yards from scrimmage in the history of an NFL postseason. But breakdown we're believers in Jaden Daniels around here, but we do know that he is a little bit slight of build. One of his strengths is he can run as good as anybody. He can fly. I mean, and we saw that in college as well. But he's not just a runner. He throws from the pocket, and he throws with accuracy, and he throws with touch. And that is just uncommon trait for a guy that's just so athletic, just so easy to give up on the routes and your progressions when you can tuck it and run for an athletic quarterback. Your thoughts on the Washington Commanders?
Yeah, Mike, my biggest concern with this team is a lot of question marks here. So no play on the season win total or to make playoffs yet till I observed them a little bit during the season here. The main reason, the offensive line ranked number 22nd, but they did add a center in this from Kansas City, so that might be a good add for them. And, of course, like you said, the health of Daniels. They did bring in a lot of free agencies on defense, so that might help that unit. And I also do a ranking now in the front 7, and I got them ranked number 24, so that's a big concern.
Okay.
But, of course, the Sonny Styles might help out quite a bit here, so we'll see how that goes. And then they did add a lot of other additions to that defense that might help. This guy's supposed to be a defensive coach, Dan Quinn, but we have not seen that result in Washington. I still got him right around a top 20 coach. Blew a Super Bowl. That probably will never that'll haunt him for the rest of his career. But he's not a horrible coach, but he's right there in the middle kind of. So the schedule's tough. Week by there, and they're only favored in 5 games, but there is a couple of play on and the play against spots, so I'll let you guys talk a little bit about that.
They also, next to Styles will be Kalavian Chesson as well, from LSU, comes over from the Super Bowl runner-up, the New England Patriots last year. So, and yet Quinn he's just, the first thing they had to do was, they had to clean up that ownership, and that gives them, it's just kind of a, that film is just, that scumminess is just cleared, with the new ownership, and so the team can sort of embrace, the fan base can embrace their team as well, and it's a tricky team. It's a tricky team, Charlie.
So here's, out of the first week of camp, here's a few things that have come out. Number one, Jaden Daniels has put on some weight, a good weight.
Okay, good.
That he has bulked up a little bit. Terry McLaurin, his number one receiver, is 100% healthy, which he had that hold in last year, that messy contract situation, never really got right. The second thing is they do not have a great second option behind McLaurin as a wide receiver. Watch Stephon Diggs, who is from that area. He's still a free agent. He had over 1,000 yards last year coming off the ACL. As a number 2 receiver, he can still play. I wouldn't be surprised if they signed him or another veteran wide receiver, because behind McLaurin, it's rookies and kind of journeyman type receivers. You'd like to see him with another receiving option.
They danced around, flirted with Ayuk, but there's a lot of drama there.
San Francisco's going to hold Ayuk hostage because of how he's conducted himself. Yeah. If they add him, I think it's going to be late. Diggs is out there, and there's been mutual interest. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought him in.
Yeah, Antonio Williams, a young receiver from Clemson. You got former number 1 pick out of Arkansas, Traylon Burks. He was supposed to be the replacement for Antonio Brown. That didn't work out. Antonio Brown's in a much different level than that. But you know what, Randy, are there, Luke McCaffrey, comes over and he's sort of a possession receiver, 3rd-round pick out of Rice. It's kind of scary, Terry, and man, do they have the potential with some of these names that we bring up to emerge, to give some help from just opposing defenses focusing so much attention on stopping McLaurin?
Yeah, that's kind of my question with this team. A lot of question marks and what they're going to do. Losing the tight end too. You always need a good tight end, and I think they had Ertz there for a while, and he retired.
Yes.
And, now they got to replace that one too, and can they do that as well? So that's why this team has too many question marks for me to really look at. And then they start off with 2 division foes, which is never an easy spot. But then they come in and like I said, there's a good play-on spot here against the world champion Seahawks in their opener there, and they're going to be getting over a field goal. So I think that's a good play-on spot for a Washington Commander team. And then
Randy, you mentioned that is wild. They open up at Philadelphia and at Dallas to start the season. That's rare, huh?
It's certainly not something that the league would want to have happen. There's so many different variables when you come into making the schedule for all 32 teams, but no, that ain't what you want.
They go to plan 678 after instead of making a team go on the road against the chief competition in the division. That's different. Randy, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's very rare, and it's very rare that they don't. They pretty much end playing their division. They played Dallas the last game of the season, but after about week 9, they play the Giants, I think, or 10. That's the last time before they play Dallas at the end of the season. So kind of a very weird scheduling spot, which kind of leads to a sandwich spot there where they go to the Rams there. And pre-line on this is 4.5. If it's that low against that Rams team, I would probably have a pretty big bet, even though the Rams are favored there.
Yeah, that Seattle spot again is week 3 after those 2 road games in conference, meaning in the division at Philadelphia and at Dallas. The other thing that comes to mind, let's focus on schedule before I bring up another point, but that is they play 8 games against the NFC West and AFC South. NFC West is probably one of the stronger divisions. San Francisco, Los Angeles. Where would you rank them? 1 to 8, and where would you rank the AFC South? That's an improving AFC South, but we'll see what the Colts can do with a healthy Daniel Jones for 17 games. But where do you rank those 2 divisions as far as schedule is concerned?
Number 1 is that NFC West there, even though they have Arizona. The 3, they got the world champions. They got the best team, I think, coming in the year in the Rams, and the 49ers can stay healthy. They'll be right there with them. And who knows about this Arizona team? A lot of people are not thinking they're going to do very good, but they have a very tough schedule. So I think they'll get better as the season goes there, and we'll see what happens with the new coach. But I got them 1, and, of course, the AFC South I've always had rated pretty low in the division rankings.
We think back of that 2 years ago in Daniel's rookie season when they went to the NFC Championship game, and so we remember those road victories being so impressive. But to get into the playoffs and have a chance to play, they won so many close games. I mean, the Chicago Hail Mary, but how many close games did they win? So does that kind of take away a little bit from did we focus too much on the postseason and not kind of remember just them being a little bit fortunate in the regular season 2 years ago?
Yeah, plus they had all that fourth down variance. Remember, they really went for it on fourth down. And, we'll see if Quinn, and, last year he was kind of tentative about doing that. We'll see if he gets back to that, which I think he should, with this team. He's got to gamble to win some of these games. They're only favored in 5 games, so you got to roll the dice in some situations that are, a little better than 50-50 when you should go for it and have some trusting your quarterback there, Quinn, and have Daniels make some nice plays on fourth down where he can run the football. And of course, he's going to be a little better for a bad offensive line than most quarterbacks because he can do that. So that's another factor I look at as well.
You see, my man Big Dog is soft-spoken, but yeah, their fourth down was pretty good. It's only the best in the history of the league in the Super Bowl era with at least 15 attempts, 20 of 23. 87%. But if you're going to use Daniel's legs and you're going to play some read, that's obviously those are some of the plays where he's so good because dual threat is a lot of times code for a running quarterback. Who's a better dual threat quarterback than this guy?
We saw that at LSU. He runs away from people, and you say, well, can you do that at the NFL level? Yes, he can. He can run away from people.
But he throws with touch, too, for a young guy.
He has a great accuracy. And how important is it? They're playing the AFC South. Is there any division with more questions at quarterback? Is C.J. Stroud going to return to his rookie form? Is Daniel Jones going to come off the injury? Is Trevor Lawrence ever going to make the next leap? Is Cam Ward going to go?
You don't think he made a leap last year?
Well, not to what they were when they won the playoff game 2 years ago.
Did Lawrence make a leap last year?
Well, the team made a leap, and he made kind of a leap here with Cohn. We'll see if he can repeat it. But that's another team that had a big run and really changed around their record. And
where would you rank Lawrence? 1 to 32 as opening day starters.
I would say around the 12 range. I'd have to look at my quarterback rankings.
Just a little above average.
Middle of tier 2. That's about what I think too.
I thought in how much of a pass? Some. It's just a matter of how much does he get because he's had just a crazy, leadership. The Urban Meyer thing right in the middle of it that didn't help, and he didn't play his best in the Buffalo game that I remember. They got him back didn't they get the lead late, and in Buffalo, or they tied it late in that game?
Both teams, it was 10-7 Buffalo at the half, and then it was the second half was exactly even. They both scored 2 touchdowns in that crazy fourth quarter, if you remember that. They had the lead 24-20 with 4 minutes to go.
Any other bets on the Commanders' futures or those 2 spots that you're looking at against Seattle at home after opening up 2 divisional games, and then also the Rams maybe at home? Any other thoughts on betting any futures with the Commanders?
No, I just got those two spots I found. You can bet regular season wins after the season starts at some of these sports books now. So that would be a thing I would consider if they start off, looking all right. You probably get a pretty cheap price on, maybe an over 8 or something, or 8.5, which wouldn't be such a bad deal, even though it starts out 7.5 now.
Yep. Lawrence had a 14-yard pass with 4 minutes to go to take a 24-20 lead to Etienne. So, yeah, they did have a lead late. So he played better in the second half after a kind of a slow defensive start, which can happen in the postseason. Just a kind of a disappointing loss for them. Big Dog, we appreciate it. Follow Randy on Twitter at RR39. We'll continue to preview a different NFL team every week from a handicapping perspective. Randy, thank you, man. Good to talk to you again.
Let me guess. Next week we're going to keep the Southern flair going and take the Joe Burrow-led Bengals probably.
Your wishes on command.
That's it. Works, yeah.
Yes. So if you could tell us if Joe Burrow is going to play 17 games or not, we would appreciate that crystal ball. Thank you, Randy.
All right, sounds good. Good luck, everybody out there.
Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060. Full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Fast, friendly, professional service is what you get every time you dial 296-0060. Chad Reynolds, great team, a long-standing team. Execute your deal seamlessly. Ashley Donald, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, Mariana Haynes, Natalie and Bradford Smith. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody choose but you. Choose Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title. 296-0060.
Live at Dick's House of Sport, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LSU off the practice field. We'll have an update as soon as Lane Kiffin is done briefing the media. Wanted to get to this story here real quick because it's something we talked about a lot. The Preakness announced this morning that they're moving back a week and a day. They'll be now 3 weeks after the Kentucky Derby, and for the first time ever, they'll run it on a Sunday. So there's 3 weeks between the Derby and the Preakness in an effort to get more Derby horses in there. Of course, this jams it up against the Belmont. Jimmy, the Churchill Downs and the Belmont Stakes are talking about a 6-race series that could essentially replace the Triple Crown as we know it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that this timing is pretty obvious that they're trying to preserve their spot in the Triple Crown, and it's been compromised in a great deal. Pimlico is on life support. They ran it at Laurel this last year with horrendous attendance, viewership. I mean, it was empty. It was sad, and it's just Pimlico's been kind of on the ropes for a while, and they have to do it. And that extra week will improve the chances greatly of getting the Derby winner to participate in its life or death. But yeah, with Jim Dandy that was run this past Saturday. Me and Max will be the week 0. That Saturday is the Travers at Saratoga. There's elite racing there, and Saratoga has been a part of the Triple Crown with the Belmont the last few years. But no, this is a threat, and Pimlico had to do something.
They spent a bunch of money refurbishing that track, trying to preserve the race. Live at lunch from Dick's House of Sport, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
East, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
Back here at Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana. You headed out for LSU football this year. Come by and get all of your LSU apparel here at Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana. We'll have an update as Lane Kiffin's wrapped up the practice. We'll have that with Scott Rabelais here in about 15 minutes.
All right, let's go out to Las Vegas, talk to Wes Reynolds. Wes, how you doing, buddy?
I'm well, guys. I'm excited for the football season to get started. We're inching closer and closer.
Speaking of football, so the folks at VSiN delegated at different conferences for their preseason college football from a handicapping perspective. Tell me, you had the Big Ten, is that right? And give us a little thumbnail of your takeaway from previewing the Big Ten.
Yeah, and it should be stacked at the top yet again. The usual suspects at the top, right? Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana. The usual suspects, and that's how it is now. I think in the Big Ten, that's the clear top 3 in whatever order you want to put it. And we're all kind of trying to figure out how this is going to play out. Who are the 12 going to be in the playoffs this year? And I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw last year, with the exception of the inclusion of Notre Dame. So that means you're probably getting 4 Big Ten teams. You're probably getting 4 from the SEC. You're probably getting the ACC champ, the Big 12 champ, and one of the G6 schools. So who's going to be that 4th team from the Big Ten? and I think there's 3 candidates. There's USC, Michigan, or Penn State. Chose to go the route with Penn State this time around because I think the schedule just sets up. I think they have roster continuity with all these guys coming in with Matt Campbell. I think he has 24 guys coming in from Iowa State, so that's putting Signetti and James Madison to Indiana to shame, basically, with how many they have coming in. And I just think it sets up for them. If Rocco Beck can stay healthy, and he started 39 straight games despite the fact that he had a litany of injuries last year, including an off-season shoulder surgery. So I'm excited to see how this shakes out. We got some new coaches in the league. Pat Fitzgerald back in the league at Michigan State, new coach at Michigan. So looking forward to some Big Ten football.
Well, I was just talking about when they unveiled the top 25, the coaches' top 25 yesterday. I was high on Penn State as well. When you avoid the big 3, all of them, I mean, nobody else in the Big Ten is avoiding those, Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. And Ohio State's got, a great roster. There's no doubt about it. But they had a great roster last year. They had a first-year starting quarterback. Well, now that quarterback is a second-year starter. And so we know what kind of threat they are. I think Oregon, to retain their quarterback, and retain so many. Wes, so they have the most returning starters from their team in the Big Ten? It seems that way.
I think they did. Overall, I think they were ranked top 5 in terms of returning production. I know Bill Connolly does a great job putting that together for ESPN.com. And, they had like 65% of their production back, including that defensive line, which I think is the best in the conference, maybe the best in the country, although if Indiana keeps getting more guys eligible, like they did yesterday with the return of Stephen Daly, they may give them a run for the money in terms of the defensive line rankings. So Oregon certainly is one of those teams, and they would be my pick to win the national title because I think that they're a mission team. I think when you get embarrassed like they did in the Peach Bowl down in Atlanta and you return so much back, all of a sudden this is kind of the mission team. It's like we got unfinished business, and I think Dan Lanning is going to get them going. They have a lot of talent, and they promote both coordinators because remember they lost both coordinators, Stein to Kentucky and Loophole to Cal, but they promote from within. So I think that there's a lot of continuity within that staff. I don't think the Ducks are going to miss a beat.
Now the defensive lineman, that's the one that was injured in the celebration after beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, Stephen Daly.
Yes, against Ohio State when he was jumping up to give a high five to a fan, and then got hurt and had to miss the entire playoff run. So they're waiting on him. There's also the effect of maybe Kellen Wyatt, who is the other defensive tackle, who is a transfer from Maryland, that he might be able to be eligible because they had that court ruling. It's hard to keep these court rulings. We need like a court TV, like sports emphasis to keep all these court rulings and all this legislation that is going on. So, it's a nice shot in the arm if you get him back as well.
You know how I know Indiana's made the big time? Not that they won the national championship last year, but that they're now being criticized for their non-conference schedule. For years, nobody gave a flip who Indiana scheduled non-conference. Now it's a story.
What about them canceling their meeting with Notre Dame, Wes?
It was kind of a lot of dominoes there because USC, obviously, to renew that rivalry. Well, USC is not going to want to play him in November. Like, that meeting was usually in October or November. Well, USC is not going to want to do that in the middle of the Big Ten conference play season, nor was Indiana. So, look, they're going to take criticism, but I don't think Curt Cignetti and Indiana really care because it worked last year. And you eventually, you played 6 top 10 teams and beat them all, and you went 16-0. So, from a standpoint, I'd like to see maybe a Power 4 opponent or a Notre Dame at some point. And I think that maybe that's going to be reality in a couple years down the line. Like, these things won't be set in stone. As we've seen, these games can get canceled. But, Indiana's going to take a lot of criticism. And when you're at the top dog, I'm relishing it. I love it. I love the fact that, it's not an irrelevant program coming off a 3-8 season. It's a defending national championship team. and all of a sudden, you got to take some of the bullets. And I think Indiana's certainly willing to do that. So, they're gonna have another good team again. And the Big Ten, the way that the schedule came out this year was pretty favorable, I think, again to Indiana. So, not going to be surprised to see them back in the mix yet again.
The time of his torn patellar tendon, I mean, this is basically the same type of a surgery as an ACL and recovery as well. In early December, is he on schedule? Is he participate? Is he ready to participate in practice of August camp?
Well, he has been today, but
Okay.
I mean, he hasn't been in pads or anything, so I don't think he's been full contact quite yet. But
he's at practice. Okay.
Yeah, he has been doing some drills, so he's been back. So that's just another shot in the arm with them, because they get the two edge rushers from Kansas State who are expected to make a big impact this year. So, everything looks all systems go, and Kurt Signetti was in rare form at Big Ten Media Day and firing some shots across the bow, and that's what we love in college football. We love rivalries, and we love heat. That's why we love it so much, with the trash talk and all that's about to start here in 1 month's time.
If in a different era, this might be an outlier type of run, but to do it in this new era where the rules are different, the game has changed. I mean, there's some coaches that have quit, some of the best ever, and there's some coaches that have really had a rough time adjusting. See Dabo Swinney and our friends over at Clemson, but it just seems like sustainability is there. Still have to follow up a national championship. The championship hangover, it's tangible, whatever reason, but to use one of your terms, what? They get fat and happy. And so, we'll see if they have that dog in them this year. But I think that they may get tripped up a little bit more. I mean, it was a perfect season last year. But the thing is, we'll see how that championship hangover may affect the new kid on the block as far as the nation's elite. Are you at number 6? Is that where you had them pegged in the rankings?
I think it's fair, but my phone has been blowing up with my alum friends and buddies that I went to school with there. Like, oh my God, they disrespected us and they slighted us, and it's like, we're rated number 6 in the country, and it's a slight now. Like it's wonderful to see that, and I think Kurt Signetti might use that as his card, a little bit of a disrespect card, but he's very focused. They move on. He puts that in the past and is like, this is a new season, and we're going forward. He's going to have the tunnel vision and not going to look backwards necessarily on this. So, I'm very excited for what they have coming back, and it's going to be interesting with Josh Hoover, who's a different quarterback than Fernando Mendoza, but a lot of production on both sides of the ball, particularly on the offensive and defensive line.
Well, I would put the over-under at about 45 alumni bases that thought they were disrespected when the rankings came out yesterday. So join the club, your real football program. Y'all care now. So there you go. So I thought for sure when I got back from Del Mar that you guys had Thor Bjornsson, the Stanford product last week, but Max informed me that wasn't the case. You've mentioned him. You've used him a lot on your picks. What were you thinking when he won this past weekend, his first PGA event?
It was kind of the summation of the golf season. Just have mistimed these guys this year, because I bet him a few times because we've seen these young kids now win. We of course saw Jackson Coyden in his third professional PGA Tour start win at the 3M in Minneapolis, and I've used Theodore Bjornsson a bunch and didn't have him last week, and it's like, man, now he's making every putt, because there's been a couple times I had him. I had him in an alternate event a couple years ago where he was the leader and couldn't make a putt down the stretch, and watched me get another runner-up. So these kids are ready, and these young guys, they come from that PGA Tour U, like Ludwig did from Texas Tech a few years ago, with Coyben, with Bjornsson, and these guys are contending like right away right now. And these are the perfect fields for them to get wins too, because they're not signature events, so you don't have Scotty or Rory or any of these guys in the field every single week, but these guys are really talented, and they're not waiting to win, so they're not late bloomers by any stretch.
Interesting story with his mother. She was a golfer in the family, but the dad is an engineer and is just obsessed with the analytics and video analysis of the golf swing, and works with him a lot on that.
His dad is named Thorbjorn Thorbjornsson. What a name.
That's an awesome name.
I mean, could you?
I wish I had a cool name like that.
Ott just didn't. No, it didn't. No, not quite. Let's get to the. Speaking of Cameron Young, he was once the in tournament favorite this past weekend up in Detroit, but he is the pre-tournament favorite for the Wyndham this week, plus 830 at DraftKings. Who we got, Wes?
Yeah, and he's back again. Of course, he's defending his title, his first PGA Tour win last year, and he's played at Wake Forest, so has a lot of roots there. That's probably why he's obligated to be there. He feels so, because he doesn't really need to be here this week, because this is the last for the FedEx Cup points and getting the playoffs, and he's comfortably in. But I played another guy not too far below him. I played Hideki Matsuyama, who's in the low 20s, fifth last week in Detroit, third in Minneapolis the week before, led in tee to green last week, has made every cut dating back all the way to May of last year. Even with the no cuts in the signature events, I still think that that's an impressive feat. And the driver has been kind of what's maybe held him back a little bit this season, but he's gained strokes off the tee in each of his last four starts. This is the place at Sedgefield, by the way. You don't really get in a lot of trouble off the tee. This is a lot more accuracy-based than it is distance-based at only 7,100 yards. So Matsuyama, the way he's hitting the irons and the fact that he's putting, this has probably been one of the best putting seasons he's ever had in his entire career. So I think he keeps that up, getting back to the Bermuda where he's better putting than he is on the bent grass that they've been putting on the last several weeks. So Matsuyama makes the card for me, as does Ryan Gerard. I had him last week. He ended up top 10, T8, 16th in the FedEx Cup, so he's in all the playoff events. Three runners-up this season at the Sony, Waialae, which is a very strong correlation to Sedgefield, a short par 70, the Amex, and also the Memorial. He grew up in North Carolina. This is kind of a home game for him. Grew up in Raleigh, played at UNC Chapel Hill, so now trying to win in Greensboro and complete that ACC triangle, I guess. But Ryan Gerard makes the card this week, as does Tom Kim, who broke that winless streak at the Scottish earlier this month, and he's in about the mid-30ish to 1 range. First career victory was right here at the Wyndham in August 2022, and you can win this multiple times, like Davis Love and Brant Snedeker have showed. Fifth on approach this year, fifth in proximity from 125 to 150, which is where most of the approaches are going to be, the wedge shots. Putting's shown an uptick with 3 of his last 6 being his best performances of the season on the green, so I think that continues. Davis Thompson, he was also top 10 last week, 55 to 1. 2 top 10 finishes in a row, both at the 3M and the Rocket. Runner-up at Detroit a couple years ago, which is another Donald Ross design, much like the course this week at Sedgefield. He's a good fit as well. And then maybe try to get my heart broken with Ben Coles again at 60 to 1. I had him at the John Deere, of course, where he looked like the clear winner, and then hit his approach in the water at 18 and finished third. But he's, I think, looking for that win, and the fact that he's going to get his PGA Tour card from what he's done on the Korn Ferry, and plus the fact that he's 95th in the points. You got to be in the top 100 at the end of by the end of this tournament to get your full status for the tour next year. He's been up and down on the Korn Ferry and the PGA Tour several times over his career, but he's going back to the Wyndham. This is where he made his PGA Tour debut all the way back in 2012. So I'm going to keep going with Ben Coles with the approach numbers being as good as they are. And then longer shots, Rio Hasasane, 60 to 1, third on debut here 2 years ago, has been consistent all season, only 1 missed cut, and that was at the opener in Hawaii. Second for greens in regulation last week, but he struggled with the putter, so I think he'll like going to this Bermuda instead of this bent grass they've been putting on. And then speaking of the young guys, we were talking about Tor Bornson, and we were talking about Coyben, of course. How about Blades Brown, the 19-year-old who bypassed college to go ahead and turn professional, and is playing on the Korn Ferry, 9th in the points, so he's probably going to get his card. Just a lot of great pedigree with this guy. 4 top sixes on the Corn Ferry this year, plus a third in Puerto Rico. And I think he's very capable, as is Ben James at 80-1, who also was a PGA Tour U guy, like Bjornbornsen and Koiven and Ludwig Gobert. 7 of 8 cuts he's made since he turned pro at the RBC Canadian Open, 4th at the Punta Cana earlier this month. First-team All-American, just wrapped up his career 4 years at Virginia. One of 5 guys to ever do that, be a first-team All-American in all 4 years of college golf. So Ben James rounds that out at 80-1.
All right, Wes, let's get that Penn State to make it to the college football playoff at around plus 425. So take advantage of that skid. Yes, indeed. I think a little price because I think some people will be hesitant to back the Nittany Lions after such high expectations last year, being preseason number 2 and a favorable schedule also to get into the postseason. Follow Wes on Twitter at WesReynolds1. Thank you, Wes. We'll talk to you next week.
You bet, guys. Thank you.
And we will return here at Dick's House of Sport. LSU off the practice field. Lane Kiffin's press conference is wrapped up. We will talk with Scott Rabelais when we come back.
Back to school over here at House of Sport, man. And I love getting some of the merch over here. They got some pants. I like the everyday pants, golf pants, whatever you want. I mean, just so many shoes. Man, they got a selection on shoes over there. It's unbelievable. Shoes I got on right now, these Brooks I got over here from Dick's House of Sport. Lids or everything. But if the kids headed back to school, stop on over here. And also on August 12th and August 26th, it's fun down at $5 student rock wall climbs, August 12th and August 26th, 4 to 6:45 p.m.
Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Enjoying the finer things in life is his forte. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate.
And we return here at Dick's House of Sport here in the Mall of Louisiana. Scott, the first practice is in the books. The media had a brief opportunity to see that and then meet with Lane Kiffin afterwards. What did you see, starting with Sam Levitt?
Very brief, Charlie. We were out there for like two 5.5-minute periods. So quite brief. But Sam Levitt was out there. We didn't see him doing very much. He's just kind of tossing the ball around. We only saw the individual drills, but he's a full participant. And to that point, obviously Lane Kiffin got a number of questions about him. He said he thought Lane had a really great day today. It looked the best he's looked. He's getting comfortable with the receivers. His mobility was good. And he was asked about how the quarterback in his offenses is often one of the team's top rushers. And he said he kind of hedged on that. He said I don't know if he needs to be that. Depends the team, depends on how the running backs come along and everything. But so he kind of hedged on that a little bit. But would they call? I guess the question is will they call on him to run as opposed to scrambling? But he said it looked good, and everyone participated who was supposed to participate. So from that standpoint, not a whole lot of drama on the first day of practice.
And I think the fans should understand that. This is how Kiffin operated at Ole Miss when I'm talking about practice availability. He was a lot more liberal in the spring with the availability, so the looks are going to be brief. We got the schedule. There's going to be a little bit to see, but most of it is going to be under wraps. I think that this schedule that they went with today is one that they're going to follow for everything on the schedule that I saw, Scott. So we're going to have to go in a lot of these cases with what Kiffin says rather than what we see. Right. So what else did he say after this practice besides the Levitt stuff?
Well, I would say to that end, too, Charlie, that he said this practice was these first few practices are going to be a little condensed, a little shorter than what they might have later on in preseason camp. He said the players have done a lot of OTA work, to use an NFL term, in the summer, and he said, they really felt. He really felt that going in. He didn't say Ole Miss, but he really felt in that previous job going into the playoffs, which he didn't coach, of course, that they were one of the fresher, healthier teams going into the postseason, and so he said that started with doing less contact, less physically demanding work in this part of the practice. I thought I'd mention that's a factor in the early days as well.
I think it's significant because, for one thing, they've got more of the install in, I think, than maybe we, might have thought for a first-year coach, in a new program with all the new faces. The second thing is his schedule is different from what we have seen here in the past, in that he is following up morning practices with night practices. And when they come back the next morning after the night practices, most of the time those are walkthroughs. This is a recovery situation that he favors, and it's worked for him. Listen, you get a lot of different, the sports science and all that stuff, but if this is what has worked for him in the past, this seems to be the schedule that he's going to follow, and that's a little bit different. We haven't seen night practices here in a minute, so that works. All the better. Did he talk a little bit about that?
Not really. Someone asked Michael Bonnet afterwards, the longtime SID, then he said, "Yeah, that's the thing. It's recovery based, So he didn't really. I don't think he really addressed that too much, but yeah, you're on the right track with that for sure, Charlie."
All right, the depth chart, what we're going to be able to see, as I understand it, there weren't a whole lot of surprises this morning. Maybe one, and I don't know if this holds or not, if it was just for today, but Jace Thomas ran with the first team at safety, and Tamarcus Cooley, who was a starter all of last season, ran with the second team. Did he mention anything about that?
Very briefly, he was asked about it, and just said, the typical thing your coach says, he's looking good. But he didn't mention Cooley that there's anything wrong with him or anything like that. Just that it was again a very brief glimpse, and it could have just been, hey, let's look at him in this lineup with this group, this personnel grouping or something like that. But he didn't. Yeah, he was very expansive about some answers. But that was not one he was very expansive about. But I think if we go back out there next time we go out tomorrow or whatever day it is that he'll be that we'll see Cooley back out there, running with the ones. So.
Well, I actually look at it as a positive because I know Cooley can play. I watched him last year. I thought he was a really solid player. If Thomas has elevated himself to get even some work with the ones, that's, in my opinion, unless Cooley has regressed since last year, which I doubt, that means to me that Thomas has worked his way into a little bit more playing time. Let's talk a little bit more about over on defense. The corner position is one where the depth is an issue with the loss of Aiden Anding in the spring. So Pickett and Woodland with the ones. Jakeem Jackson is the clear number 3. They're looking for another corner right now. That appears to be Michael Turner, at least to start. But we're going to see Finney and some of the other guys later on in camp. But at least for now, that's what the cornerback depth looks like.
Yeah, Turner. That's a good. Michael Turner is a good choice to pick there. A sophomore who's got some experience. Finney is someone to watch. He's a very highly regarded, high school player, but someone that Lane Kiffin mentioned in the offseason as someone who's a great talent. One other thing to mention at cornerback, by the way, that DJ Pickett switched from number 3 to he's now wearing number 5 apparently. And though he's listed as 3 on the roster that we were given, but he was wearing 5, and Kiffin said that's something he was promised when he was recruited, and he said he said for whatever reason he said I shouldn't not follow through with that. Yeah, I wasn't part of that, but he said I should not follow through with that. That's the number he wants. So I'm thinking is he the first player since Jaden Daniels to wear number 5? He might be.
Yeah, he is. It hasn't been that long. It's one of those unwritten things that for the moment nobody's going to wear 9, and at least until today nobody was wearing 5. I could go on a little tangent about retired numbers and retired jerseys and all that stuff. You need enough numbers to fill a squad, okay? So it's not any slight to Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow or anything like that. I mean, you got to use the numbers. So
that's right.
Be that how it is. Up front, Jimmy, you had asked about Lamar Brown up at the first segment of the show today. Second team defensive end, along with Dylan Carpenter, who had to play a lot a season ago behind Uman Mielen and Jordan Ross. So no surprises there. Richard Anderson with the second unit on the interior, and Deuce Gerald's. Scott, at this point, it's it's going to be an upset if Gerald's isn't in the starting lineup as a true freshman. And for interior defensive linemen, you really got to stand out to get in there. There's some experienced guys in there. And I didn't see Dom McKinley's name in the report that I got, so maybe you can fill us in on him.
I didn't have time to look at the defensive lineman, so if he wasn't out there. But
Scott, you had 11 minutes, okay? You couldn't look at 95 people in 11 minutes. Come on, man.
I'm looking at all the offensive linemen. I could tell you about the linebackers, but I can't tell you about McKinley. But he said everyone was out there practicing. Look, Deuce Gerald's right. Just someone who really came to the fore, in the spring, and he's been talking about him. He's not super a huge player, but he's very, very explosive and quick for a defensive tackle. So that's someone they like. Lamar Brown, he did talk extensively about Lamar Brown. He kind of made a small joke about how he was waiting on the couch in the coach's office when he got to LSU from the airport, right, that very first night. And he said he's a great combination of height, weight, and speed. Very rare to find. He's an awesome kid, intelligent, well-spoken. And he said, it's really the great thing when we met with him is he talked about what it takes to be great and how he wants to be great, and he said they're really excited about him. But he said overall, though, he said because of the transfer portal, Deuce Gerald's maybe an outlier. He said you don't expect true freshmen to have as much of an impact as they've have had in the past. He said because of the transfer portal, you're bringing in obviously so many people with experience to fill holes. You don't always have this. So for Deuce Gerald to stand out is really standing out, and so he's someone to bear watching. And Lamar Brown, of course, the big name, obviously from U-High, and he's the 5-star and one of if not the most highly regarded player in the class that they signed of high school players. But don't expect a whole lot of true freshmen to break through because of the nature of the game now.
Gerald's. This is the way I see it. A lot of times we see these defensive linemen come in that are physical freaks. They're 6'5", they're over 300 pounds, they can run, but they have demolished everybody that they've seen at the high school level. They get here, and I'm not talking about the college level. This is not unique to LSU. A lot of times the technique is sloppy. Gerald's is about 280 pounds, maybe 285. If you can excel, 279. Okay, if you can excel at that weight on the interior defensive line enough to turn enough heads, there are two defensive interior guys that transferred in, Blockton and Green. You move in front of at least one of those guys, plus the three that you're returning from last year from LSU. At 280 pounds, you've really done something, and whether you got to compensate for it with your technique or whatever. This kid looks extremely polished for. I'm going to say it again. A true freshman, you just don't see it.
It's hard.
A whole bunch.
It's very hard to play defensive line in the SEC. And like even some of those great classes that Orgeron had at Ole Miss, Nutt reaped the benefits. Yeah. But I don't expect greatness out of Brown and Anderson, but I do expect them to be used in the rotation.
No, and they are. And when Gerald's goes up against a lineman in these practices and in SEC games, he's going to be given anyway from 25 to 35 pounds in weight. If he's holding up against that, there may be something to this kid.
Where are we as far as the older players? Who's eligible? Like, what's the age, the max age they're going to be facing? Like 23, 24-year-olds?
Yeah. So,
which is, I mean, a high school kid going up against a man.
Right.
I mean, come on. It's
those
more,
4 to 5 years
it's
a big
even
deal.
tougher of a learning or a success grade, an impact grade curve that you had.
Scott, Caden Durham, Dylan Jones, Harlem Berry, in that order with the running backs in the 11 minutes that you were there. Anything else on offense that caught your attention?
Just No, like I said, I was looking at a lot of the linemen and linebackers. Just obviously, everybody had a lot of questions about Levitt and how his chemistry is going with the going to be with the skill players. And obviously, all the new receivers and Trey Green, who's a returning player, but he's new to Sam Levitt, and they had a little experience in the spring, obviously. But Kiffin gave the indication that he's pleased with where they are now. Not that they're ready to play an opener, this Saturday, but just pleased with how that's gone. And he also made a point of talking to he was talking to the strength coach, saying how they don't the players are well bought in. They're not finding out off field problems. That's easy for him to say. Not a lot of attitude issues. That's easy for him to say. We're taking his word for it. He also said one more thing that was interesting. He was talking about how Charlie Weiss and Blake Baker being able to depend on them to run things. And obviously, everybody talks about the Lane Kiffin offense, but he gives a lot of credit to Weiss. And he said how he had a 30-minute phone call this morning talking about transfer portal issues or something like that, some kind of thing that the head coach has to deal with. He said, in the past, I would have been having to be overseeing the offensive room, and that's not the case now because he trusts and depends on Weiss so much to do what he, obviously the things that he wants, and of course he trusts Blake Baker. He doesn't want to just jump in and he said, I'm deal with personnel issues and things like that, but he doesn't want to jump in and tell Blake Baker how to run the defense, and he doesn't feel like he has to. So I think those are two things that maybe put them a little bit ahead of the curve on developing this team and developing the chemistry with all these new players.
When we get to the end of the regular season and they start talking about assistant coaches in line for head coaching jobs, both of those names are going to be very high up the list. I feel confident about that prediction. Scott, we appreciate it. We will talk to you next week.
All right, fellas. Thanks a lot.
Charlie, you made a couple of references, and this is the month where, doing this 35 years is where generally you get a little complaining from the media about access, in the practices. I know it's hindsight, but I did say it last year and in previous years with Kelly. I can't believe how accessible, how polite, but also how offering information, injury information, and it was just too much. I'm a little. This is a little bit of a. I'm okay.
This is way more normal.
This is way more normal. This is way more normal, and I know it's kind of a. But man, so what?
Right. It's more important to win the games and to be comfortable with what you're on the practice field.
And us have a little bit more content during August.
Yeah.
We talked about
fine.
We talked about it a little bit when Levitt didn't go to SEC Media Days. There was something, starting quarterback you didn't get to hear from. You know who else you didn't hear from in Media Days last year? Fernando Mendoza. I think he had a pretty good season last year. I think Indiana was happy. They didn't need him at Media Days.
It's a hot topic of Media Days and Media Day, but they're not the only quarterbacks that don't go to the
They didn't take Burrow, and they didn't take Daniels the first year. They didn't take either one.
Burrow made some comments the second year.
The Manning camp, and also
ridiculed him for his commentary.
How you like me now?
Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of southern Louisiana for over 50 years. Running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers, you're not just a number, you're a partner. Contact our great team of bankers, Prentice Wilkes, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at Dick's House of Sport in the Mall, Louisiana, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wednesday Consensus Golf Picks are brought to you by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown.
Return here at Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana. Coming out here on August the 8th and August the 15th. And Evolve Studio leading their free Pilates classes right here inside the store.
All right, Max, give us a damn winner.
Well, I would love to give you one, but chances are I won't because it's been a rough go. Last week, Hideki was the only guy who was really even in the conversation of the guys I gave you. Well, let me start off this week. We're going to go with a guy who does pretty well in short courses, and he doesn't play this event too many times. Back in 2023, he was set to miss the playoffs, this being the last regular season event, and he had a chance to chip in on the last hole to make the playoff, and he lipped out. That was Justin Thomas. Now, he's a short course maven. He's done very well on these positional golf courses because he's not a very good driver. So when he's able to hit 3-wood off the tee, he's a little bit more in play, and he can let his irons and his short game do the rest of the work. But Justin Thomas at 30-1 this week, to me, makes some sense considering the fit. Yeah, I mean, 30-1 for a guy of his caliber, I think, is a fitting number for him. So I'll start with Justin Thomas this week. Alex Fitzpatrick is 40-1. He's coming off of a rough stretch overseas where you would think an English player would play better. He missed the cut at the Scottish, finished 71st at the Open Championship. But before then, he was in great form, of course, in America. Top 25s in, 7 of 8 starts on the PGA Tour this year until the Scottish. So he's back on American soil where he's been playing a little bit better. We haven't seen him in almost 3 weeks or so. But I think he's a good enough player where he's not the longest hitter and he can maybe take advantage of a golf course that he has not seen yet. But Alex Fitzpatrick, 40-1, I think a good enough player to maybe break through with another PGA Tour victory. Jordan Smith is 55-1.
Okay, you
Jordan Smith, yeah.
He was ready, man. He was going to pounce right on you.
You got very excited, didn't you? Yeah. He is not one of the PGA Tour. He's got more of the DP World Tour history to his name. 2 wins on the DP World Tour in his career. But his best finish this year was a 3rd place at the Valspar. Matt Fitzpatrick won that week. But that is a positional golf course, tree-lined. It's a Florida course, so it's similar to what you'll see in Greensboro, although I don't believe that course is Bermuda like we'll see this week. But he has typically putted pretty well in Bermuda, and he is somebody who is on the cut line. He's 68th in the FedEx Cup. They'll take the top 70 after this week, so he's fighting to keep his hopes alive. I do think if he gets in position, he won't be scared by the moment because typically we only see about 2 players from outside the top 70 that actually end up making their way through after the Wyndham Championship. But Jordan Smith on the bubble, I think he's got a chance to win this week at 55-1. And you heard this name. You actually heard the next 2 names from Wes Reynolds. Blades Brown is 60-1. I was watching the DP World Tour event last week, or it's not the DP World Tour, the Korn Ferry Tour. Sorry, the minor leagues in America here. And he just missed a putt for a chance at a 5-way playoff. He would have made it 6. So he has been playing really, really well. He's a young player, did not go about it the college way, but we've been seeing the Thorbjornsens, we've been seeing the Koivens, the younger players, play better, so maybe he can break through with his own win. He's got top 25s on both Korn Ferry and PGA Tour starts in all but one of his last 11 starts. Ben James is 75-1, a Virginia kid. You heard a lot of the breakdown from Wes, but more importantly, he is more of an accuracy player, which is more important. You're not going to see a whole lot of bombers play well this week unless they club down. That's why we saw Cam Young play well and win here last year, is he was able to take less than driver. But there are not a whole lot of driver holes out here, and that, to me, favors a guy like Ben James, who's more positional. He's 6'2". You might look at him, a young guy. All these young guys who are coming up, they all bomb the ball, but he is not one of those guys. He's somebody who's more positional, and I think he can play well. Typically a very good putter as well. So Ben James out of Virginia, 75-1 this week. Chris Kirk is 78-1. He was actually going into the final round last week ahead of Thorbjornsen. He was 12 under, but had a really rough Sunday that included the S word. Can we say that on air? The golf shank? Can we say that? Is that okay to say? Let's just say Hazel first. He presented Hazel first at one point on the final round. Had a rough go, but finished 8th place at the Rocket Classic. Also finished 5th here last year at the Wyndham. So a player who's not long by any means, but his iron play has been elite. If he can get the putter going, he's got a chance this week. Emiliano Grillo, 80-1. Jimmy, you remember him. Mm-hmm. We love Emiliano Grillo. He has been playing really well with his iron play. Yeah, that's no, he's Argentinian, actually.
Pride of Argentina, too.
Argentinian, yes, but top 25s in 3 of his last 5 starts, top 40s in all 5 of those starts, and it really hitting irons well, more of a positional golfer to begin with. And then finally ending my card with Matt McCarty at 110-1. Matt McCarty, not a long hitter by any means either, more accuracy-wise. He has won on the PGA Tour, the Black Desert Classic back in 2024, but a very, very good putter. So if he gets it going, he's got a chance this week. So our consensus picks this week, 2 young guys, Blades Brown, 60-1, Ben James 75-1.
This dude looks at me when he says Shank. You son of a. Okay, Blades Brown and Ben James are our consensus reports, brought to you by our friends over at Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown. Your law firm for a lifetime, my law firm for a lifetime, Charlie's law firm for a lifetime. Criminal defense, personal injury, traffic tickets and offenses, estate planning, license defense. Our great team of attorneys, Dana, Susan Brown, David Connick, Chris Perrette, all dedicated to protecting your rights, fighting for the justice that you deserve. Take advantage of their initial consultation. It's free. That way you'll know if you have if your rights are being infringed upon, or if you got something that you got coming your way. Since 1984, the law offices of O.C. Brown. Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown, 343-1111 and ocbrown.com.
Live at Dick's House of Sport, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Dick's House of Sport in the Mall of Louisiana on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tons of things going on here at Dick's House of Sport in the month of August and into September. The kids headed back to school, but the $5 student rock wall climbs on August the 12th and 26th remain in place. Evolve Studio here for Pilates on Saturday morning, August the 8th. That's this Saturday, and again on August the 15th. You get, with your participation, $10 off, $50 coupon. Please bring your own mats there. The Pack War Rip event is coming up on August the 27th. Each participant receives 3 packs of trading cards. If you've never competed in one of these interactive challenges, they will walk you through it. The event's fully guided by a moderator. A little friendly competition, family night out here at Dick's House of Sport. And then on September the 3rd, the big Dick's House of Sport tailgate takeover from 6 until 8 p.m. Great family outing. It'll just be a couple of days before the season opener on that Thursday before the season opener. Face painting, outdoor games, lots of stuff for the kids. And, of course, you can get all of your apparel, all of your LSU apparel here at Dick's House of Sport. Literally anything you want, any size, any different design, any pretty much anything you want, Jimmy. I know you shop here
I love it,
a lot.
Man. We got so much merchandise. All my golf friends love all of the different brands that are available. I mean, look right here next to the golf shoes, man. It's tons of selection over here. The lids, man, the hats are great. So, an LSU section. But back to school, man. Back to school, tons of cool shoes for the kids. And, I mean, just a lot of socks, whatever. And it's all quality stuff that you – I mean, I wear the heck out of it.
We've
There's
got
no doubt.
The gold football jerseys behind us. What do we think about those? I guess they'll wear them again. I know Hunt probably hates them, but the gold football jerseys.
All right, while y'all talk about the jerseys, Paul Skeens and Kyle Harrison are back. Skeens has been a rough run for him, and he is. It's not just not Skeens like. It's like he's really struggling. This stretch. The overall season, kind of mediocre. Just over 4 ERA. I would say that's probably middle of the road for a lot of starters in Major League Baseball. But it's interesting. He could use a day off. Kyle Harrison is making his return after taking a few starts off due to arm fatigue. That's the matchup at Milwaukee tonight. Pittsburgh at Milwaukee.
Pitt is plus 119 with Skeens on the mound.
Skip the dude in the rotation. Try.
Thanks to the folks here at Dick's House of Sports. Stay tuned for Hunt on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.